In my last video, I covered all of the Pokemon that I thought deserved plenty of recognition for being as cute as they are. But this week, it's all about the Pokemon that are just too hideous to even stand. Just as you could tell in Top 10 Cutest Pokemon, I have a rather skewed definition of what is cute and what is ugly. So you might happen to see some Pokemon on this list that you consider to be rather cute, but that doesn't matter because you can leave your top 10 in the comments below. Ugliness can have multiple meanings for the purpose of this list. Obviously, if a Pokemon is inherently just hideous, then they will be mentioned somewhere on here. But also, if they are simply just uninspired designs, then they have a higher chance to be on this list. I am also straying away from Pokemon that were specifically made to be ugly, such as Purugly. Literally, ugly is right in its goddamn name, that is just way too easy. So with that, this is the top 10 ugliest Pokemon. One of the animals that I hate more than anything in the real world are seals and sea lions. They are about the ugliest and least desirable animals you could ever ask for. They look like large chunks of unflavored jello and they just sit there slapping themselves because they're the stupidest things alive. So my question is, why would Game Freak ever think to create a Pokemon that is just a sea lion with a single letter in the name changed? I hate Seal for more than just its ugliness. The fact that its name is just made from changing a single letter in the name of an animal that it is based off of is stupid. And not only that, this thing is literally just a sea lion. Like normally a Pokemon has some cool addition that makes it different from the animal that is based off of somehow, like laser cannons or something, but no, this is just a sea lion. It just kinda sits there with its tongue poking out and making it look all stupid and shit. I mean, its evolution, Dugong, is kinda pretty if it weren't based off of the ugliest thing to ever grace this earth. What's worse than just an ugly Pokemon? A copy of a Pokemon that is even uglier than the original. I can give Woobat a pass for just being a copy of Zubat. Whenever you make a copy and make it so damn ugly that I cannot let that go. I mean, what the hell is this thing supposed to be? It looks like a bunny got hit by a car! It's a giant flying cotton ball with a heart on its nose. Please tell me what is creative or endearing about that. Plus, I can't even imagine the infinite amount of pain it experiences from having a nasal passage that large. That nose is like a fourth of the size of its body. It would receive way too much air like that, and I imagine it gets nasal infections really easily. And imagine whenever it gets sick. Mucus and other assorted disease-related fluids would just be pouring out of its body uncontrollably. The more you think about it, the more incredibly unappealing this thing becomes. In the far corners of the Pokemon universe, there exists a Pokemon so hideous that its sheer existence is a proof for evil in this world. Its blank stare has been said to kill any human being that even dares look into its eyes. Some even say that it isn't alive, it just exists perpetually to keep ugliness alive in the world. Its name? Stunfisk. Stunfisk is one of those Pokemon that's so ugly that there would be no way to correct the ugliness that has been bequeathed onto it. The only way to really correct it would be to erase it from existence altogether. I almost feel bad for it because of how ugly it actually is. It just kinda sits there being disgusting and can't really do anything about it. Apparently it can move at alarming speeds, which is terrifying given its blank fucking stare that this abomination gives while moving that fast. There are certain requirements that must be met whenever making a Pokemon, and one of those is making it easily perceivable to the audience as to what the Pokemon actually is. If you end up with that ambiguous aesthetic, then nobody can really enjoy what it's supposed to look like. Such is the case with Spupa. Spupa is just a confusing thing to look at. It doesn't really have a discernible body image and it just kinda sits there. Not even the game understands what exactly this thing is. Its species is Scatteردust. The fuck is Scatteردust? Everything about this thing is just kind of uncomfortable. Just kind of looking into its eyes scares the shit out of me. Most Mega Evolutions turn an already badass Pokemon into an even more badass Mega, adding different design aspects and character details to make it even more memorable. Well, this is the case for most Mega Evolutions, except for one in particular, Mega Aerodactyl. I kinda have to question where exactly the idea for Mega Aerodactyl came from. I mean, obviously it would be awesome to have a Mega Evolution for one of the fossil Pokemon, but this one just didn't turn out right. It kinda looks like Aerodactyl just got a face full of shrapnel and now there's just random protrusions all over his body. I mean, it makes his wings and his tail look kinda cool, but once you start adding goatees and happy trails to Pokemon, I start questioning what exactly was slipped into the designer's coffee. some Pokemon that I don't really know where to start with. Most Pokemon on this list have little things I like to nitpick or just overall not great designs. But Conkeldurr fits into a different category altogether. I just don't know where to start with it because everything is wrong. I mean, first of all, just take a minute to gaze into this abomination's demented fucking eyeballs and discover just what true horror is. Next, let me direct you to this thing's bulbous protrusion on its head. What is this thing supposed to be? It's like a dorsal fin or one of those tabs you have to take out of battery compartments to make it work. And how could I forget this thing's blatant clown nose that sits atop its oddly gray beard? The problem with a Pokemon like Conkeldurr is that its design is all over the place, that it can't really be anything but ugly. Who knows? Maybe Game Freak just kind of ran out of creative energy on this one. I mean, wherever you have a humanoid Pokemon with an hourglass figure, muscle striations, and a very ambiguous crotch line, then I think you might have just hit a creative wall. For this entry, I'll be doing the Pokemon tag rap. My nominations are Barack Obama, Salvador Dali, and the entire nation of Canada. I'm sorry for this. Slurpuff's one of the ugliest Pokemon around. Route 7 is where this abomination can be found. I'm pretty sure this thing can only learn Pound. Yeah. And deaf people can't hear sound. I'd like to set this Pokemon on fire with TM50. This rap has as much energy as an obese shift tree. I should probably just stick to videos about the Pokey. Bill Cosby goes, Roofies! I've talked a lot in the past about how I detest Pikachu clones and how not even the original is really that fantastic for me. The problem I have with Pikachu clones is just how confined you are in their design aspects. Mostly they're going to be yellow, rat-like, and electric. However, it gets oh so much worse whenever they go from being yellow electric rats to fat yellow potato rats with antennae sticking out of their cheeks. Oh no, you think I'm joking. Dedenne literally has an antenna coming out of its face. That's not an exaggeration, it is called the Antenna Pokemon. Also, I haven't seen inspiration for a name like this since Execute. Dedenne is primarily ugly for me because it is just a fat Pikachu. There's no real inspiration behind it, it's just kind of an answer to the question of what would happen if you took a Pikachu to an all-you-can-eat buffet, and then rammed television antenna into its cheeks. Most children were very attached to teddy bears, and I was no exception to this fact. This is the exact reason why I like Teddy Ursa so much. However, I have a very different opinion on the Pokemon Cubchoo. I think this is the ugliest thing ever created. Cubchoo is normally heralded as being such a cute Pokemon, but god, no amount of praise could ever make me think this thing is anything but disgusting. I mean, just look at it, the sickly blue skin, its stupid triangular head, and that disgusting snot pouring from its nose makes it look like a Smurf with pneumonia. I mean, I could maybe understand finding this thing cute if you're, you know, blind. Also, just look at what this thing evolves into. Beartic just doesn't look normal. Its body is weirdly triangular, and that snot on its face is turned into a weird ice beard thing. Also, it looks like it has a giant cotton ball on its crotch. This entire evolutionary line is just ridiculously unappealing. There was a lot of competition for the #1 spot on this list, but to get onto the top of this list, it just required the perfect combination of ugliness, uselessness, and just overall flawed execution of this idea. The sad thing is that this idea for a Pokemon could have worked out so well and probably could have been very interesting, except it just kind of turned it out to be this abomination of code that is Dunsparce. It's almost daunting to think about the myriad of problems that would be talked about with this Pokemon. I mean, who sat there and looked at this thing and was like, yep, that's what I was going for. First of all, let's look at the color scheme of this thing. It's a combination of bile yellow and a nice sky blue, possibly the most disgusting combination of colors I could ever think of. I mean, when was the last time you went shopping for drapery and said, hey, could you direct me to the aisle where you have the putrid yellow curtains? Also, this thing is supposed to be a snake, right? Well then why is it the most bulbous snake in existence? It looks like a snake swallowed a goddamn light bulb and refused to fully digest it. And someone please tell me the point of these wings. When have you ever looked up into the sky and seen a snake, which is also the size of a grown child because this thing is 4'11" for some reason, just fucking gliding its merry little way around the earth? The best part is that in Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Red and Blue Rescue Team, Dunsparce outright addresses the fact that he's insecure about people looking at him. Even he knows that he is this ugly.